G'day and welcome aboard. My name is Ian and I'll be your tour guide. Today, in episode 4, we'll be exploring Coonabarabran, New South Wales. Called Coona by the locals and Coonabarabran by the late Doug Mulray. So we start today's tour just outside of Coona at a place called the Warrumbungles. Now this is an ancient volcanic mountain range and it gets dark out there, real dark. And it became, in 2016, became Australia's first dark sky park. And because it's so dark and the skies are mostly clear, it is the sighting or the site for the Siding Springs Observatory, which has the mighty 4M AAT. Now this stands for a 3.9 metre optical lens and is the Anglo-Australian telescope, is the AAT. Now this is Australia's largest optical telescope, and it was built in 1974 at an elevation of 1,165 metres. The 36-metre dome moves with the telescope. Now it has a little narrow slit for the telescope to look out, and it's there to help protect it from the winds, the elements, and all of that sort of thing. Now, as the telescope moves around to position where it needs to look, there is 260 tonnes of mass in motion at that time. So that's a pretty impressive feat. The 3.9 metre mirror was made in Ohio, America, and then went to England, where it took another 2 years to polish it, to get it exactly perfect and to meet all the specific requirements. Following that, it then gets a super thin, micromillimetre thin layer of aluminium mix. So that's the actual reflective surface. Now this gets changed annually, where it's a strip-off process and then reapply to the exact perfection. So this is usually done January, February, usually during a full moon, so that minimise the downtime. Now there's a cool little YouTube video on that, on the re-illuminizing of the AAT. If you Google that on YouTube, you'll see a pretty cool little video of how they do that. So the reason they wanted a big-ass telescope like the mighty 4M AAT was prior to it being built, they only had big-ass ones in the Northern Hemisphere. Now this gave them access to the Southern Hemisphere skies, so they could properly map out the centre of the Milky Way galaxy and the Magellanic Clouds. And so some of the things it's famous for, or that it's achieved, it's detected clouds near the surface of Venus. It's observed the explosion of the supernova 1987A. It's also discovered an ultra-compact dwarf galaxy. It measures the ratios of visible and invisible mass in the universe. So there's some of the pretty good achievements. So going out onto the boardwalk on the outside of the dome of the mighty 4M AAT, or the Anglo-Australian telescope, you get great views of the Warrumbungles and all scenery and all the other telescopes on the site of there at Siding Springs. Now, another one is the Uppsala Schmidt telescope. Now, this was famous for finding the McNaught comet, C/2006 PI, which was visible to the naked eye in January, February 2007, and it was the brightest comet in the sky in 40 years. So leaving the Siding Springs Observatory, we head into the Warrumbungles National Park. Now this is a volcanic mountain range and it has so many impressive rock formations, like the Bread Knife, Mount Exmouth, Bluff, Crater and all these things. Now we did the Bread Knife walk. Now that really had us puffing. It starts off nice and easy. You go meandering through the valley. Oh, it's so pretty. But then, holy shit, we got to the stairs. 650 metres you go up into the air. I don't know how many floors that is. That's a lot. It had us puffing. We were sucking the big ones in. I think there's something like about 800 odd stairs or something like that. But when you get to the top, the views are worth it. It is so pretty up there. Now, unlike most content creators around, where it's all very pretty and everything, well, we don't seem to get that. When we do stuff or go to visit places, we get the real weather, the real stuff. So on our climb, we had to take refuge under the rocky overhang of the bread knife while there was a torrential downpour and all that sort of thing, before we were able to then go climbing up to the top of the Grand Thai Tops Walk. Now, I'd planned for a romantic lunch when we got up there, but it was so cold, blowing a gale, that we just simply absorbed the spectacular views of Belugri Spire and Crater Bluff and all of those ones. But it was super spectacular, the scenery, of all these mountains. Then we took the shortcut back. Well, we go over the mountain after that. We took the return path, which is called the Dagda shortcut. I think it works out about a 12.5 kilometre walk. Same thing. We then had this romantic lunch in the shelter of Barlaw Hut while another downpour was going on. But anyway, it was really good. It was really worth it, and loved it. Highly recommend it. And on a beautiful sunny day, that would even be even better. Now, we camped at the Warrumbungles campground. Then we went to Tara Caves the next day. We went up to the White Gum Lookout. That was really beautiful as well. Views out of there. We went up there to watch the sunset. Same thing, bloody clouds stole the sunset off us. But it was very beautiful nonetheless. Now, coming back out of the Warrumbungles, there's a thing called the largest virtual solar system to explore. So this starts at Siding Springs Observatory, which represents the centre of our solar system, the 15 million degree hot sun. So travelling back down Observatory Road from the sun, you'll first come to Mercury, then Venus, and then Earth. Now, the idea of the virtual solar system is that all the planets and the distances between them are all to scale, like the size of the planet on the billboard and all that. Now, the scale of approximately 38 million to 1 is the scale. Now, if you were travelling in a car at 100 kilometres an hour, you'd be blasting through space at 3 times the speed of light. Now, after you've left Earth on your little voyage through the space, now you turn left onto Timor Road and you'll come across Mars and Jupiter. So after you've seen them, we went out from Coonabarabran out towards Merriwa, where we found Saturn at Derringully Bridge, and then the 7th planet in the solar system, Uranus, at Ulinda. Now, I know the correct pronunciation of Uranus is Uranus, but it sounds way better as a 10-year-old Ian, joking about the rings around Uranus, sending a probe to Uranus, or that you can only see Uranus if you pull the moons apart. Just brings me back to my childhood. The orbit of Uranus is about 84 years. It has 27 moons, not 2. It also makes sense that the most abundant gas on Uranus is methane. So it even smells like Uranus. So I don't know why they want to call it Uranus. Another fun fact about Uranus is the axis that runs from the North Pole to the South Pole sits at 97 degrees in relation to the Sun. So therefore, it takes about 47 years that the North Pole will sit facing the Sun, and then it'll come around to the other way, and then the South Pole, unlike Earth, which rotates and has night and day around each thing. Continuing towards Merriwa, you come across Neptune at Kula, and then finally Pluto at Merriwa. So coming back to Coonabarabran. As I mentioned before, in 2016 it was declared Australia's first dark sky park, or that was Warrumbungles, but the whole area labels itself as the Astronomy Capital of Australia because of the number of telescopes and what they've achieved out there. Now, it's located approximately 451 kilometres northwest of Sydney, with a population in 2021 of 2,387 people. Medium house price around the 300,000 odd mark. The World War I clock tower in the centre of town is a heritage listed site. There's a few other heritage listed sites. So the local council's on board with the dark sky park by helping to minimise light pollution. So all the street lights in town all face downwards and have a dome over the top of them to minimise spillage of light up into the atmosphere, and they've got the colour of the light to help minimise the light pollution as well. So now there's a couple of stars, rugby league stars that came from Coona. So a Kyle Turner, now he was in the 2014 South Sydney Rabbitohs premiership winning team. Will Robinson, warning, Will Robinson. Anyway, he played for the Tigers and the Rabbits and the Steelers. Now there's so much to explore here in Coona, like the Nielsen Park in town. That's pretty. We walked through there. That has some nice little pretty little bits. Sandstone caves and the sculptures in the scrub. They're a little bit out of town. You got Crystal Kingdom, the Woodpecker Gun, which is near the pool, and Hickey's Falls, which is to the south. So put it on your destination list and come and enjoy Coonabarabran and the Warrumbungles. And there you have it. Episode 4 done and dusted. So if you're watching this and enjoyed it, and you've been watching on the vlog on the YouTube, please subscribe to us. We're looking for 500 at least subscribers. Got 10. We're 2% of the way there or something like that. So yeah, if you could do that. If you're listening to this on Spotify, like on a podcast, and you want to see some photos or pictures to go with it, yeah, you can look at it on the YouTube and see that on there. We'd also love it if you would come and join us for our next episode, number 5, which will be Barcaldine, Queensland. Look forward to seeing you there.